I shouldn't make fun of what I'm going to say.
Right, right. Hi, roommates and me, and we are so excited today to show you how to assemble our brand new dollhouse panel that makes a cute dollhouse book. So when the dollhouse is closed, it folds flat like a book and can tie shut. And when it's open for play, you can open it to reveal 4 rooms. Each room has a little applique pocket and little pieces for play. So let's get started. Okay, let's go over the supplies you'll need to make this dollhouse book. First, you will need the Hello Spring dollhouse book panel. You'll need a piece of ribbon 20 inches long or 2 10-inch pieces. You'll need about 1.33 yards of Pelon 808, that will be our stabilizer. And then you'll need a piece of felt at least 8 by 10 or larger. We're just using a 8.5 by 11 piece of regular craft felt. So let's take a look at our panel. This is our panel all laid out. You can see that the room fronts are together and the room backs are together. And so what we're going to do is we are going to lightly cut around or roughly cut around each room and each piece. I'm going to keep the labels on to make sure that we don't get confused. So now you can see that we've cut out each of our pieces kind of loosely. We've got our applique pieces. We have our room fronts all together in this stack. These are going to be what's backed with the Pelon. And we have our room backs. Everything is labeled so we can make sure, because we want room A front to be on the back side of room A back. And then we have our pieces that will be backed by felt. So here we have our room A front. We are going to back all the room fronts with Pelon. So we are going to cut the Pelon so it covers the whole room. That's about a 13-inch square. We are going to fuse room A front, the wrong side of the room front, to the Pelon. I want to make sure that my iron doesn't get stuck or ruined, so we are going to cut out this corner so it's easier to iron, because we want to make sure that Pelon is fused really well, and we are going to do that for all of the room fronts. We are then going to make sure everything is ironed down really, really well. After the Pelon is secured to the room fronts, we are going to square. We recommend using a 12.5-inch square ruler. This allows you to put the center of the ruler right on the center of the room, which is indicated by a small gray dot. We've made each room a little bit bigger. We've given it a little bit of a bleed, so we are able to square up these rooms perfectly. So just due to the nature of the fabric, this may look a little crooked, but we want to make sure these diagonal lines are going straight across the floor. We want to make sure that our corners are all lined up and that center gray dot is right in the center. We're going to cut along both long edges and across the ceiling of wall 1 and 2. And now we are going to square up this corner. We are going to measure 6 1/4 from the edge of the fabric that we just trimmed to the gray dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/4, and we are going to trim that edge right there, right up to the gray dot, not passing the gray dot. We always double check our measurements before cutting. And then you'll want to repeat for the other wall. So we're going to measure 6 1/4 from the trimmed edge of that fabric all the way to the gray dot, and cutting from the edge right up into the gray dot.
And because we didn't hit that gray dot with our rotary blade, we're going to go in with scissors and just clip it straight to that dot and remove this fabric so it's this perfect L-shape room. And then we are going to repeat for all the other room fronts, lining up our ruler, centering each room, and measuring 6 1/4 out and squaring up the corner. And now we are going to square up our room backs the same way. You'll find a little red dot on each room back and some guidelines to help. You'll want to make sure your corners are lined up the same way with your ruler, cutting along those same edges, and also squaring up the corner 6 1/4 from the dot. And just a quick note, room A and D backs look similar with the house illustration, but they are arranged a little differently. Room A has a little door on the front, which is an easy way to distinguish. Room A and D is where the ribbon is attached to tie open or shut. And so to attach the ribbon, we are going to take one 10-inch piece of ribbon and we are going to carefully pin it in place next to the heart on both rooms A and D backs. And then we're going to baste it in place. We are now ready to attach the room front to room backs. Working with the same room, room A back and room A front, we're placing them right sides together. Just carefully tucking in that ribbon. We're going to leave this part unsewn so we have a space to turn it right sides out. I'm going to mark those 2 dots with pins so we know where to start and end. And then with a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, we are going to sew around this whole L-shaped room. Now that this is sewn, we are going to clip this corner right up into the seam, careful not to clip the seam, and then we are going to trim each corner. And then we are going to carefully turn it right sides out. I'm using a chopstick to carefully push out all of the corners. Then we are going to carefully tuck in the opening and whip stitch it close. Okay, now that this room is sewn, we are ready to fold and crease it. These 2 walls will come together when it's complete, and so we're just going to make crease lines along these floor lines. We'll do that by bringing the wall up and lining up against the edge, creasing it really, really well. And then we'll do the same for the other wall, pushing it against the floor and creasing really well. And then we are going to want to make a fold line in the floor, and the floor will fold up. So we're going to turn it over and we are going to fold across this diagonal line. We'll do that by bringing both walls together and creasing along this diagonal like that. And then along those crease lines, we are going to do a straight stitch just so it folds a little bit easier. And then repeat these steps for all rooms. The applique pockets are double-sided, so each applique pocket has a front and a back. To make this pocket, we are going to cut these out a little bit more precisely, and then we're going to place it right sides together and sew along the edge, leaving a space to turn right side out, press, and whip stitch the opening closed. You will do this for each applique pocket. To attach the applique pocket to the room, locate the black line and place the applique pocket over the top of the black line. The black line indicates where you should sew. So we are going to sew a straight stitch along the edge of each pocket, leaving the top open for storage and play. We will do that for each room. On this groundhog outdoor room, the applique pocket burrow goes right down to the bottom along that previously folded and sewn line. You want to make sure it's right up against the seam, but not overlapping the seam at all. Now that our applique pockets are secure and sewn on, we are going to attach the rooms together. We're going to do that by attaching room A to room B. We're lining it up along the ceiling of both of the applique pocket side. We're going to take a zigzag stitch, lining them up perfectly and flat, doing a zigzag stitch that will catch both room A and room B. We'll do the same for room C and D, lining up the applique pocket side, the top of the ceiling, to the applique pocket of room D. And just like before, taking a zigzag stitch across the top, connecting both rooms. And now we will attach everything together. It should look like a square, and we're going to attach the ceiling on just one side, this side with the toy room and bedroom. We can tell it's this side because it has the background print. We do not want to attach the covers together. And we're going to attach that ceiling with a zigzag stitch just like before. Now we are going to carefully seam each individual room together. The walls of this toy room we are going to bring together, and we'll do a very scant straight stitch along that edge. We're going to be careful to just sew that room together, not stitching into the other room or into the floor. We'll do the same for the bedroom and stitch right along that side. We're doing this side, these two rooms first, and then we will do the same to the other two rooms on the other side. Okay, now we're going to kind of prop open our dollhouse now that the room walls are sewn together. And as we prop it open, we can see that there are these gaps between the room. So for extra support, we are going to sew a scant straight edge right along the edge, bringing these rooms together. This will be a little more stable. And you'll do these three sides, leaving the covers unstitched. And last but not least, the felt backed pieces. We are going to place the pieces all connected on your piece of felt, and we will stitch right inside the pink line. After sewing each piece, we are going to carefully cut on the pink line, careful not to cut the stitching, and that will make all of our little pieces for play.
Now our dollhouse is completely finished.
We can tie it open for a little bit more stability during playtime. And all of your little pieces can store in the applique pockets. And when playtime is over, you can just simply fold up the floors like that. Thanks for watching.